At first glance, this signal looks really clean. Clear entry, clear stop loss, attractive targets. But when I put this same signal on a real chart, a very important problem revealed itself. A problem that many traders don't even notice before entering. In this video, I will analyze this signal step by step. First, I'll see where the entry is, then whether the stop loss makes sense or not, then we'll calculate the targets and the risk to reward, and finally, we'll decide whether this signal was really worth entering or if it just looked good on the surface. This video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Our goal is to learn how to analyze any signal ourselves before trusting it. Alright, together we're going to review 4 signals on gold for today. We have 4 different Telegram channels here. The first channel has posted a sell signal for gold in its message. Entry point, stop loss, and 2 take profit levels. So far everything seems fine, but here's the problem. Is a good signal just about writing numbers, or does it actually align with the real structure of the market? Let's check the signals together on the real chart to see if they're logical, if they're in the right direction of the trend, or if they're placed on support and resistance levels. Let's go test it on the real chart. Now let's plot these exact numbers on the chart. This blue line marks the entry zone. This red line is the stop loss. These 2 green lines are the signal targets. Now the main analysis is just about to begin, because the chart tells us whether this signal makes sense or if it's just a random number that was sent. Alright, let's go and review position 1 to see if it was logical or not. Here, in this specific section, we had a 5-minute trading low point where, at first the price initially found support. We specify, then we go to the 1-hour time frame. Looking closely at the 1-hour time frame as well, it clearly seems that the specific trade they told us to take was positioned right at the absolute price bottom. I will now take a moment to mark this area here as the price bottom using this yellow circle so you can see it better. You can observe quite plainly that on this particular level of resistance I was instructed to enter a sell trade, which, when you think about it, logically doesn't make any sense at all from a technical analysis perspective. But one good thing you can see in this trade is that the trade was made in the correct direction of the trend, which I will now indicate with a blue arrow. So together we conclude that this trade was in the correct direction of the trend, but we were told to take a sell trade on 2 important resistance levels. If it were me, I wouldn't have done this. It was too risky. Alright, let's move on to the second trade. First of all, we need to determine the entry point, which here means specifying its price. Now I'll make it blue, and with this yellow arrow I'll show you this is our entry point. Next, now I'll set the stop loss, enter its price, and make it red so it's clear. Now I want to set our take profit. We'll specify the price for our first take profit, TP1, here, according to the signal we've received. At this point we are going to establish the level for the second take profit, and starting from this specific section right here, we set our position so that our take profit and stop loss are defined. Here is our stop loss, and this is our take profit, which is roughly a risk to reward ratio of 4 to 4.5%. So our trade is approximately 1 to 4 if both take profit levels are hit. Now we execute the trade. We see that the stop loss was hit, the trade was opened, and our stop loss resulted in a loss. This trade ended up being a loss. Now let's move forward together and analyze why this trade resulted in a loss. From this part. In this part, I'm showing with this circle that there was a resistance here which was broken, and from a trading perspective it made sense that after the breakout and with the clear downtrend we would want to enter a sell trade. From an analytical standpoint it was correct, and now in my opinion the main issue with this trade wasn't the analysis, because on the lower time frame the price floor was broken and the trend was also downward, but the main problem was that a very tight stop loss was set for this trade. That's why this trade, which could have been profitable, ended up closing at a loss. Alright, let's move on to the third trade. Once again, this is a sell trade on gold, and we wanted to, for example, look at 4 trades on gold through the trade name channels to see whether they're profitable or logical or not. We mark the entry point with a blue line. In this part, we set our stop loss. We carefully establish our initial take profit, our second take profit, and also our final third take profit target. Alright, now we leave the trade open on the chart. This is our stop loss and this is our take profit, so the trade is roughly at a 1-to-5 risk to reward ratio. We wait for the trade to open. Okay, the trade is opening. The trade is open. Our first take profit was hit. We wait for our third take profit to be hit as well. Yes, our third take profit was hit too. This trade was profitable. Now let's analyze this trade to see if it was logical, correct, and based on analysis or not. The first factor is our trend, which is downward. We traded in the correct direction of the trend. This part you see here was a price floor in the higher time frames. In my opinion, this trade was a logical one because the price floor was broken. In the 5-minute time frame, there was a range, and after the range was broken, we determined our entry point and set the stop loss above the resistance. Analytically, this is a correct trade, but on the 1-hour time frame with these yellow layers that I've marked, there was another resistance here that increases the risk of the trade. Although on the lower time frame, the trade was profitable. Alright, let's move on to the fourth trade, which is also a sell trade on gold. All these 4 trades that we introduced were from 4 different channels which were suggested for gold, and we wanted to see how the market would react. Now this blue point that's marked, the blue line, is our entry point. And the red line is our stop loss, which we've marked. The first green line is our first take profit, which we're marking, and our second take profit is marked here as well. Okay, now let's open the trade. Here, this is our stop loss, and we also set our take profit, so the risk to reward ratio for this trade is about 1-to-2. Alright, now let's wait and see if the trade gets triggered or not. Yes, the trade has been opened here. After we successfully entered the designated trading zone, we watched the price action closely until our first take profit level was finally touched exactly as we had planned in our initial strategy. Our second take profit was also touched.
this trade was profitable as well. Now let's analyze and see whether this trade was technically correct from a technical analysis perspective or not.
The 5-minute trend line, where before the trend line was broken, we had already set our entry point, and during those 5 minutes, the trend was upward. I've also marked it with this blue arrow.
I am not here to say whether this signal is good or bad. What I'm after is to understand what things should have been checked before entering. That's why I've written a checklist here, a big checklist. So before you enter any signal, make sure to check these 7 items. First, the trend. Second, the entry point. Third, the stop loss logic. Fourth, risk to reward. Fifth, candlestick confirmation. Sixth, important news. And seventh, the real track record of the signal provider. If a signal doesn't have these elements, you shouldn't trust it just because it looks professional on Telegram. We need to filter the signal. Blindly following a signal is dangerous. We need to analyze the signal on the chart and see if there's actually any logic behind it or not. If you'd like us to review more signals on the chart in future videos, subscribe to the channel. Because here, we're not just going to talk, we're actually going to test signals, charts, and trading tools. Again, I want to emphasize that this video is not financial advice. The goal of this channel is to teach and analyze the structure of trades. Always do your own research and personal risk management before making any financial decisions. If you want more information, you can read additional educational articles on our blog